Here we are, the movie that launched an ungodly number of memes and made the internet a stranger place than usual in 2019. Yes, I mean this. But we'll talk about that in detail later. What? Occasionally I get reception on my phone on this side and I can see what a hellhole the internet is over there. And given what I've seen of 2020... yeah, I'm reconsidering this whole going home thing. Anyway, Scooby-Doo, Legend of the Phantosaur, made its debut on Cartoon Network on September 3rd, 2011, with the home video release happening 3 days later. Spike Brandt and Tony Cervone continued to act as producers, with Ethan Spalding directing again, and the script was written by Doug Langdale. There's no prologue bit this time, instead jumping right into the alternate-style animated credits similar to what we saw in Camp Scare. The movie proper opens with... that. Shaggy has apparently been screaming non-stop for 3 hours, which has prompted the gang to bring him to the doctor.
Hey! Stop screaming!
Why didn't that work when we tried it?
People listen to doctors.
So, after God knows how many times he's been terrified and God knows how many haunted houses, it seems that Shaggy has contracted an extremely rare condition.
It would seem that Shaggy is suffering from acute threat avoidance hypertrophy disorder.
The cure? Shaggy can't be exposed to anything frightening anymore, which means...
no more ghost hunting, crime busting, or mystery-solving shenanigans.
Unfortunately, since this is, what the gang does, they find themselves at a loss with what to do with themselves. And the lack of it seems to be spilling over into their day-to-day lives.
What's the matter, Fred?
I'm failing science. Mr. Fleischer didn't like my project. What? It illustrates all 3 of Newton's laws of motion.
So, with Fred needing an extra credit science project in a hurry and the rest of the gang trying to figure out what to do that won't scare Shaggy shitless, Daphne comes up with an idea.
I know. My Uncle Ted invested in this new spa resort in La Serena. Here's a brochure.
Nice.
And there's a paleontological dig going on in town. Uncle Ted could get us a room in the spa, and you could volunteer to help on the dig.
Add the fact that the town has 3 different all-you-can-eat restaurants, and the gang are off to La Serena in New Mexico. They arrive at the spot and meet Mr. Hubley, the proprietor, voiced by the late Fred Willard.
Aha! If it isn't Frank, Danny, Veronica, and Slappy.
The spa isn't officially opening until next week, and Hubley laments that it isn't as big as he'd have liked.
But I couldn't get the locals to sell their land.
That's too bad.
Yeah, but what are you gonna do? Dress up as a ghost and scare them off?
When the boys get hungry, Hubley sends them to the town's outdoor barbecue, and since it's right next to the dig site, that gives the gang the opportunity to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Since the boys overate, again, they send the rest of the gang on ahead to the dig site and decide to walk off their meal. This proves to be a bad idea. Scooby tells Shaggy what he's found, but when Shaggy starts to freak out, he claims he was joking. Meanwhile, the rest of the gang are shown around the dig by Professor Spunkmeyer, voiced by Finola Hughes, and her assistant Windsor, voiced by Matthew Gray Gubler.
Clearly mine are the superior glasses.
Oh my gosh, did you get those at Spec Masters?
Totally. They had the exact same ones at Der Glasselhaus for like twice as much.
Der Glassenhaus is such a ripoff.
Shaggy and Scooby make it to the dig, and Shaggy's feeling pretty good about the whole trip. Well, time to put an end to that nonsense. Needless to say, a chase breaks out. I'm not gonna lie, this would make one hell of a theme park ride. The chase comes to an end when Fred and the others show up and use the mystery machine to knock the Phantosaur off a cliff. Back at the spa and reviving Shaggy, Hubley tells them the legend of the Phantosaur, which basically boils down to a tribe of Native Americans summoning the ghost of a dinosaur to chase off Spanish conquistadors. It worked, but then the Phantosaur turned on the tribe.
They say it still roams the land, thirsting for human blood.
Realizing that they have a mystery to solve and Shaggy's useless as he is, Hubley suggests some hypnotherapy to solve the problem. Well, hypnotherapy with a sci-fi edge.
You're going to become very, very brave, confident, fearless, heroic, powerful, unstoppable. You'll be all this whenever you hear the key word, bad.
Unfortunately, Hubley also falls victim to his own hypnosis and forgets the keyword as well when he brings them both out of it. Shenanigans will commence later. In the meantime, Shaggy and Scooby go hit one of the all-you-can-eat places in town while Fred, Velma, and Daphne look for more clues. Except there's one problem.
What do you think, Velma?
I think Windsor's eyes are the color of sea foam by moonlight.
Okay. Somebody's going to be zero help tonight.
Go easy on her, Daph. Haven't you ever had a crush on anyone?
Me? No! Why would you ask?
They head off to the dig where Daphne finds something interesting.
What does this look like to you?
Dinosaur tracks and snake tracks?
And now, yes, the moment you've all been waiting for. At the all-you-can-eat place, a gang of bikers shows up to cause trouble, and when Shaggy accidentally splats food all over one of them, the keyword gets triggered.
This is gonna be bad.
This can go two ways, punk.
This, of course, led to the original Ultra Instinct Shaggy video posted to YouTube by user Midja in 2017, adding music from Dragon Ball Super. The video was deleted shortly afterward, but in 2019, user Roasted Curry uploaded a copy to YouTube. This video exploded in a shower of meme after meme after meme shortly afterward. And why wouldn't it? Sure, we've seen Shaggy swallow his fear and be brave in a lot of situations, but here he's in a knockdown, drag-out fight and nobody can touch him. It's just over the top enough to be one of the most awesome action sequences in animation. It's smooth, it's fluid, and Shaggy's cocky come-at-me expression just puts the cherry on top. This kind of thing is so rare for Scooby-Doo as a franchise that who wouldn't sit up and take notice? Back in the mines, the gang find Windsor, who starts to warn them off, but... In the middle of making goo-goo eyes at Velma, Windsor says that there's snakes in the lower part of the cavern and nobody goes down there. This makes both Daphne and Fred suspicious. Back at the restaurant, the gang's leader shows up and, impressed that Shaggy's wiped the floor with his boys, challenges Shaggy to a motorcycle race.
Tonight at midnight, we'll start at Dead Man's Peak, race down Dead Man's Trail, come around Dead Man's Curve, and end in the parking lot on Dead Man's Avenue.
Fun fact, this was a mispronunciation. The town was founded by lucky prospector Horace Deadman in 1886. He lived to be 109 and died from severe dehydration during a marathon orgy lasting 6 days in 1975. Anyway, the leader unfortunately says the word bad, snapping Shaggy out of his badass state and making him instantly regret what he's committed himself to. Back at the dig, Windsor and Velma make a date to have dinner, leaving Fred and Daphne to look for clues, and oh boy, do they find a big one.
98% sure there's silver down in that old mine.
Too bad the land isn't for sale.
Don't want to leave evidence lying around.
Fred is extremely happy about this.
I think we may have this one wrapped up.
Not quite. You still haven't caught anyone in a net.
True.
The gang regroup at one of the cabins at the spa. The mining company the two from the canyon apparently work for used to run the mine but were forced to stop when Svankmajer found the dinosaur bones, prompting the dig. Shaggy panics about the upcoming race and Daphne offers to teach him how to ride a motorcycle, since she's been doing it since she was 5.
Just you and me. You'll love it on ABC. You'll love it.
Windsor and Velma's date seems to go pretty well until one particular topic seems to bother him.
So, you think that Phantosaur was...
Phantosaur. Is that all you ever want to talk about? Can we just please change the subject?
And Shaggy's motorcycle lesson has its own difficulties. The next sequence technically qualifies as a chase, except that instead of the monster, it's Daphne, Fred, and Scooby who are trying to find a way to get Shaggy's bike to stop. Velma borrows Windsor's keys and uses a power line to stop Shaggy and Scooby. Later, Shaggy meets up with the gang leader, who is apparently named Tex, for the race. Tex triggers Shaggy's badass mode again, and the race is on, until Tex wipes out and goes over the edge of the cliff.
You didn't think you were gonna get out of the race that easy, did you?
The race gets back on track. Wait a minute. Is that still technically a pun in this context? Well, anyway, they start heading into town when the Phantosaur shows up, but while Tex peels off, Shaggy heads straight for it. Except there's apparently a loophole in the keyword.
Phantosaur thinks he's so bad.
Scooby dashes in to help, but winds up on the front of the bike. The boys zoom out of control and pass by some brush, which gets blown away, revealing the mining company van. There's some cable snaking out the back of it, which makes the same marks as the ones they saw earlier with the tracks the Phantosaur left behind. Fred comes up with a plan, and Tex and his gang offer to help. The plan is simple, but effective. The water also shorts out the electronics in the van, which in turn shorts out the now clearly animatronic Phantosaur. And as it turns out, there's 2 Phantosaur animatronics taken from the mining company's Living Dinosaur exhibit that they sponsored. A little paint and other touch-up, and boom, Phantosaur. The reason? They discovered a new vein of silver in the mine and wanted to shut down the dig.
Well, looks like another mystery is solved.
Usually it takes longer.
Good point, Daphne. Time count! Okay, what's the twist this time?
Something terrible has happened. Last night, somebody broke in and took my PLR equipment.
Ah, a new mystery. A little weird, but okay.
Claw marks.
Got a set of footprints here. Dromasaurus theapod of the Mongoline species. A velociraptor.
Make that very weird. Another chase breaks out as the gang are attacked by the raptors in question, but it quickly stops as the raptors break off the chase and leave the spa. Heading outside, the gang find that the town is now on goddamn fire. They decide to give chase. And in town, it seems that the real Phantosaur has decided to put in an appearance. And now, the coolest thing you'll see today. The dinosaurs run rampant in the town for the next few minutes before vanishing. The gang head back to the dig to show the pictures they took during the chaos to Professor Svankmajer, who shows them the generator at the dig has been destroyed and tells them that she sent everyone home and is bugging out herself. However, Shaggy notices one big hole in her story when he spots Windsor's car not very well hidden nearby.
Well, I guess we'll be leaving town now. Yep, here we go.
We're not really leaving, are we?
Of course not. We're gonna pick up a couple of things and then come back.
Returning to the dig that night, the gang get the attention of the raptors, and the first part of Fred's plan is revealed.
Marbles! Just like I said, it's those graduate students.
The Phantosaur shows up and starts chasing the gang. They break out some fire extinguishers to counteract the fire, and...
The beam's coming from there!
Yeah, it turns out Svankmajer and Windsor are behind this particular Phantosaur. The gang give chase deeper into the caverns where they discover what this phase of the mystery has been all about.
A complete Allosaurus.
Again, the whole thing was to scare people off so they could take the dinosaur undetected, since it's actually under public land, so the find would belong to the town. Svankmajer and Windsor both saw through the mining company ruse and decided to do a better version to drive everyone off. The raptor costume came from the same exhibit as the animatronic dinosaurs, and as for the fire breath...
And I got the paint strippers from a friend in construction. We planted them around town to create the Phantosaur's fire breath.
The two reveal that they planned to blow the caverns once the town was empty in order to haul the crystal above ground. Unfortunately, because Daphne turned the paint stripper next to the hologram projector on and didn't turn it off, it lit the fuses on the explosives, and now the whole damn cave system is coming down. The way back is blocked off, but there's a second exit further down where the cave snakes live. Yes, they're real.
The only way any of us are getting out of here is if we all work together.
He's right. I know the lower caverns are bad, but there's no other choice.
There's a time for talk, and there's a time for action.
Badass Shaggy takes the lead, and when they find a cavern where the floor is nothing but cave snake, he leaps into the stalactites and starts knocking them down to make a sort of bridge for the rest of them to cross over. Once across, Windsor tells Velma that despite everything, he still likes her.
I believe you, Windsor. But maybe you could have told me the truth back when we weren't about to die.
They reach a raging underground river, and in the ceiling is the way back to the surface. Shaggy comes up with a plan, and another section of the caves collapse. Unfortunately, right as Shaggy completes phase 1 of his plan, danger-prone Daphne does it again.
Not bad.
Scooby figures out the keyword, but because of his speech impediment, nobody can figure out what it is. And Shaggy, naturally, has lost all confidence in his plan.
If you don't do it, we're all gonna die! No pressure!
Look how far it is, Fred!
Needless to say, Shaggy overcomes his fear after a motivational speech from Fred and makes it to the hole. It looks like he's about to fall, but Tex happens to be there to save him.
Dynamite! Dynamite!
And with his help, the rest of the gang are pulled out of the caverns just as the explosives finally go off, collapsing the caverns but also exposing the dinosaur. And so, Fred gets his grade bumped up to a C- for helping save the dinosaur, and Svankmeyer and Windsor are arrested.
Maybe we can go out again? You know, when you get out of jail?
Consider it a date.
Which leaves one thing left to do: undo the post-hypnotic suggestion implanted in Shaggy.
Zoinks! I'm Shaggy!
But, like, how can you be Shaggy if, like, I'm Shaggy?
Even without the memes, Legend of the Phantosaur is actually a pretty good movie. There's a fair amount of action and adventure added to the gags, and badass Shaggy puts a whole new take on the character without detracting from the cowardly, lovable Shaggy we all adore. The jokes are funny, and while the solutions to both mysteries stretch your suspension of disbelief, it's no more egregious than some of the things that happened during the What's New era. The Phantosaur is another truly unique monster in the Scooby-Doo canon, and I think that makes this whole movie more worthwhile than an admittedly funny meme. Check this one out if you haven't already. And with that, we've unearthed another of the 30-plus films of Scooby-Doo.
Scooby-Doo!
Here come those meddling kids to join the chase. No creep can keep them away. Don't try to stop them. When monsters all disappear without a trace, the kids find the clues right away. The